Okay, so for this curtain card, basically we're going to cut a piece similar to this. And I went ahead and just wrote up a couple of instructions that hopefully help. It was actually quite simple. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're just gonna cut a 4 1/4 inch wide by 12 inches long. So that we could do a traditional card size. And I just went ahead and took my card base, or 8.5 by 11, and cut it in half, right? So at 4 1/4 or 5.5 inches, I cut it in half. And then I'm going to fold this in half. And I'm gonna be working on that for my card base. And this is going to give me the 4 1/4 inch wide that I'm gonna be covering. Okay, so that's why it's 4 1/4. So if you're doing a 6-inch card, you would go 6 inches high. If you're going a 5-inch card, you would do 5 inch high. But basically 4 1/4 by 12 inches, okay? All right, then what I did is I took my piece of paper, so I'm actually cutting it out of this, right? And I'm going to cut a piece out of the paper that starts at 3.5 inches and goes all the way up to 2 inches. So let me go ahead and show you that really quickly. So we're gonna cut a piece of paper out at 4 1/4. Okay. All right. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go on this side, I'm gonna go over 3.5 inches, and I'm just gonna mark it. I'm not gonna do anything with it. And then over on this end, I'm gonna go in 2 inches. So I'm just gonna go right up to the line, and then I'm gonna mark it at 2 inches. Okay. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go from this mark and to this mark, and it's gonna cut my angle. So I'm gonna get that right up on the blade. So I lined it up on the blade, and then I'm gonna take my other point at 3.5 inches, and I'm gonna scoot that over so that's on the blade. So they're both sitting on the blade cut. Okay, so I'm gonna cut this section off right here. Make sure one more time, there we go. And that's about it, right? So I cut that off. So 3.5 inches to 2 inches high on that. So that will give you your curtain base, and then at that point, your folding lines are gonna be 3.5, 4, 3/4, 7 inch, 8 inch, 7.5, and 10.5. Now again, this is just a template that I made up so that I can show you those measurements. So you could take a screenshot if you want of that. But really what I'm gonna do is, I went ahead and already cut my 3.5 to 2 inches. And so just using these guidelines of measurements, you can either grab a ruler. I have my cutter here handy. I'm not cutting, I'm just gonna use it as a ruler. So I'm gonna go 3.5 inches in for our first mark, right? So 3.5 inches. And I'm gonna make a mark. And I'm just doing this in pencil because then I can go back and erase it. And then I'm gonna go to 4 3/4, and I'm gonna make a mark. And then I'm gonna go to 7 inches. You'll just keep going down, of course, and making those marks. So 7 inches, 8, 9.5, and then 10.5. So those are all our marks. And you'll want to go pretty long. I mean, I'm using this cute pattern, so you can see that the pencil lines are a little bit harder to read. But just make a good, you know, a good mark. I can see those. So hopefully just make, you know, and again, pencil, because I'm going to erase those here in a minute. Or not, because they're going to be on the fold line. So now what I'm going to do is, so you can take a scoring blade and just score them there. I have this Fisker's blade, and I just put, instead of the cutting blade, I put a scoring blade. So that's usually what I use. A lot of times I just fold, tell you the truth, without like scoring, but in this case, it'll just be easier because then I'll have my lines blade. So instead of a cutting blade, you can get a scoring blade and put that on top. So there's a difference there. And so you could just do it with this kind of cutter, and then you would just blade it at those marks instead of marking it. So I already went ahead and marked it. So again, we're going to 4 3/4, and we're going to go over to 7 inches, and then 8 inches, 9 1/2, and 10 1/2. Okay, so now we have our score lines there. And so now I'm going to fold this one back at that one, fold it back again, and then fold it again. So now I'm just folding it where I scored it. Okay, and then fold it again. How cute. That's kind of fun, right? And then that will end up basically about your 5 1/2 inches wide card there. And so that's where I try to make those measurements go so that it's for a traditional card size. So if you are doing like a 6 by 6 card, you'll need to adjust your measurements because you want it to go all the way across your card. All right. Now, as far as adhering this down, basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some adhesive to each of those fold lines, inside and outside. Oh, and also I should mention that before I started folding this, I inked these up, okay? And I inked both sides. So I inked the front and I inked the back part. So technically really on this back part, you only need to ink from this point. I'm actually gonna make it a little bit darker on this brown. Yeah, definitely. From this point, because that's the part that's gonna show. So you wanna make sure you ink those. Okay. All right, so I'm just gonna add a little bit of adhesive there. Fold it back. And then I'd probably add some inside too. Like so. You'll probably want to add a good amount. And now I am going to be tying a string around this design. So, all right. So that is how you add the curtain look to your card. I mean, if you really wanted to, I don't know, it might just give it a dirty look. I was trying to think. You could ink these before you put them down. Maybe I'll add a little just to give it a dimension. And then of course I'll show you the final sample, but this could be so cute. And I mean, I chose this pattern. You could do a solid blue. Yeah, you're gonna wanna add a good amount of ink or adhesive there, just to make sure. But I am also going to be tying a string around. So, like so, let me just show you really quickly. So once I adhere it down, I'm gonna have a piece of string that goes around the whole top, right? And that's gonna help hold that tight all down together too. But yeah, I think this would be just so cute. I didn't have much of my flower pattern left after I designed my other projects, but that could be so cute in that. Even the pumpkin pattern could be so cute. Or just a simple blue, you know, a blue or like that. So it just depends, but having this double-sided pattern pop through is just really cute as well. Okay, let me finish this card up and I'll show you what it ends up looking like. I did decide to add a little bit of ink, but like I mentioned, I really don't want a dirty look, so I really just allowed the ink that's already on my daughter to be enough. So I just pulled it back and just did a little bit of a look across. I think it does give it a little bit more dimension, but I didn't want it to be too much, like, noticeable, you know? So I think, again, it just depends on what pattern you're using. Since I'm using this cream, I feel like it would really define it too much for me. Okay, so for the rest of the card, I'm going to just add this oak leaf from the Kiwi Club kit, probably hang in here with a string around it. I'm going to go ahead and just trace the sentiment out and include that on my card. There's also other ones. So for example, like, I think Happy Fall would be cute too. Let's see, let's check this one. Kind of lose those words a little. So Those are a lot of fun. I don't think that one really works, but I'm also going to just add a little bit of pop now that I know I'm going to go with blue here. I think I'm going to add a little bit of pop behind. So using the ones that I didn't quite use, I can just put a little piece of paper or something behind there. So yeah, I'm thinking what color here. I could just pull the blue back over there. I could do green. It's like kind of this like taupey green. That could be cute. I really think a little bit of this color will be pretty. So maybe I'll look on the back of these title cards. I still have a few left. And so I'll probably just pull that in. Anyways, so what I'm going to do is just cut a little piece and just put it in that spot. So yeah, I'm going to go with this color here. And I'm just cutting, I'm keeping intact my 12 inches. That's why I chose to cut it out just here at the top, because I don't know, I might need that full length 12 inches. So don't ever cut away from your 12-inch length if you have a choice, basically. Because I'm not quite done using my scraps of paper. So see how that's just going to be tucked in there? Ink it. Okay, so now that I have that little bit of pop of color going behind, I'm just going to add the top curtain piece that I just did to the base of my card. And then I'm going to trace the sentiment out of this leaf oak design. So then I can kind of customize that sentimental card to my needs. And then simply just trace. And of course you can see through those so that I made sure the words all lined up and I didn't, you know, accidentally cut the words off. And then I'm just going to cut it out and then ink it up on the edges. Simple, simple. This was a really fun card to make. It was different than most cards I do. It took a little bit of figuring out the measurements, but not too long. So hopefully you have fun making your own. Now I'm just going to tie a little twine. So basic little twine, you know, twine's great to have on hand because just so many projects use it. So it's really universal in a way. And then I just trimmed up those edges. And I decided to do the twine first because, you know, sometimes like you're like adjusting where that's falling. So I figured it was easier just to do it and tie it and then just add the leaf back so that it lined right perfectly with that, the knot. Like so. Okay. And I mean, you could add a little cute button or something like that, you know, tie it and then maybe add a button. I already used the buttons that came in my kit. I used them all on my pages because I thought they were just so cute and so much fun. But I'm trying to think. Let me see if I have another type of button. Okay, so I decided to add something to the inside of that card. So I'm just going to take Frolic 1B and I'm going to go at 5.5 inches here and I'm going to line it up and then trace this part, of course. Okay, so let's try that again.